Potatoes love, my gravy love. Potatoes love, my gravy love. Potatoes love, my gravy love. Tomatoes and potatoes and my peas. Tomatoes and potatoes and my peas. Potatoes love, my gravy love. Potatoes love, my gravy love. Potatoes love, my gravy love. Tomatoes and potatoes and my peas. Tomatoes and potatoes and my peas. I put them in my hand and I eat them just like that. I put them in my ears and in my shoes. I put them in my pants and I do a little dance. It always seems to take away my blues. Potatoes love, my gravy love. Potatoes love, my gravy love. Potatoes love, my gravy love. Tomatoes and potatoes and my peas. Tomatoes and potatoes and my peas. Tomatoes and potatoes and my peas.
Well, welcome on in, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving here at VGMporium. Today we have a Thanksgiving grab bag. I'm just taking songs that have to do with the food items of Thanksgiving and just stuffing them in there. Might be careful though. It's a little soggy at the bottom and might all fall out. So, hold at your own risk. And as a little note, I was originally planning on doing kind of like a Friendsgiving episode, like actually recording a few of my friends, talking to them about like their favorite video game music or something like that. And the case is, if you're just hearing this episode on Thanksgiving, it didn't happen. And so this is my backup. But if you did hear that one, then this is a bonus episode. So 2 episodes in one Thanksgiving. Because it is Thanksgiving, you get plentiful. You have so much to gorge on. Or just have one helping. It's however it goes. So as I mentioned earlier, all the songs that we'll be playing in this grab bag are related to food items that you would find on the Thanksgiving table. So for example, this one is Potatoes, Tomatoes, Gravy, and Peas, composed by Terry Scott Taylor for the game Neverhood. More focusing on that potato and gravy love, because I don't know about tomatoes in gravy. Peas maybe? Yeah? Yeah, this is a silly little song. It actually doesn't play in the game proper. It's you find it on like this little like music player thing inside this archive hall, and there's just all these weird little songs that this guy just did. They're just there to listen to, and they're featured on the actual soundtrack that you can purchase. It's a 2-disc featuring the Neverhood and Skull Monkeys, which is the sequel to the game. And yeah, they're both claymated games. So basically they just created clay models and then they did a video capture, and it's all claymation in a video game. And the Neverhood is a point-and-click adventure game where you play as Clayman and, solving various puzzles to find out, like, where your friend went. And it's crazy fun time, and I would highly recommend you play it if you can find it. And all the music is just like this. It's just acoustic. This guy using his voice, just whatever, like, acoustic instruments he has, and just weird-sounding stuff. And it's just a great fun time. Now, let's reach back into our soggy little bag here and see what we got next for you. This is all schloggy and gloggy, and we got corn. It's good corn, corn on the cob. You just butter that up, stick those weird little, like, 2-prong things at the ends, and just eat it up like that, or cut it off if you want. This is Cornfield Memories from Color Changing Tingles Balloon Trip of Love, composed by Masanori Adachi. song was Cornfield Memories from Color Changing Tingles, Balloon Trip of Love, composed by Masanori Adachi. And yes, it's all fun and games playing around in the cornfields and the corn mazes, but you gotta remember, don't eat that corn right off the stalk. You gotta cook that thing. Boil it, roast it, bake it, stick it in a stew. But the one thing I ask you not to do is to mash them or cream them. Now, I can most definitely say I've never played any of the Tingle games. This is a sequel to another Tingle game. There's many Tingle games, as some of you may know, some of you may not know. So first one was the freshly picked Tingles Rosy Rupee Land. I don't know, I can't remember exactly what that was, but I understand it's a weird-ass game and it's fun. And this one is the sequel to it, where Tingle gets sucked into a loose adaptation of The Wizard of Oz. So yeah, basically he's playing the role of Dorothy. So you imagine his world is gray and beige and everything, and then he gets sucked to the book, and then amazing color-changing Tingle. I would imagine Tingle being that one family member that you don't want to invite to Thanksgiving, but you have to. He's probably the only one that will bring and eat creamed corn. Yeah. Now digging a little bit more into this bag, next thing we got is green beans, represented by Beanstalk Way, Highlands, from Wario World, composed by Norio Hanzawa.
Thank you.
And that was Beanstalk Way, Highlands, from Wario World, composed by Norio Hanzawa. And you know, green beans are actually pretty good. Just depends on how they're prepared. You know, if they're from the can, not so much. They're kind of like, I don't know, like they're not vibrant, they're mushy, they're gushy. But if you're like using fresh green beans and fry them, like, you know, cook them in a pan with a little bit of butter and then some salt, bam, that's some good green beans. You know, especially if you take French green beans, they're like the really long ones. They have like this really earthy, mushroomy taste, and you cook them in a pan with a little bit of salt and ghee. Whew, now that's a good somethings. Now, Wario World is a game I did play via sneaky means by the name of Dolphin, and it was actually a pretty interesting game. It was kind of fun. Wasn't exactly what I was expecting, because, like, you know, I was really into the Wario Land games on the Game Boy, and especially World Land 4. That was my favorite. But yeah, it's a pretty fun game. I didn't make it this far, but the most interesting fact about it is it was actually developed by Treasure. Yes, the same Treasure that made games like Gunstar Heroes, Dynamite Headdy, Radiant Silvergun, and Ikaruga, just to name a few. And Norio Hanzawa was a composer for a lot of their games, and if you're a keen Treasure fan, and if you're a keen listener, you may have noticed like the last part of this song kind of sounds like something that could have been from Gunstar Heroes. And a lot of the music from this game is just kind of like this, like just bombastic, brassy, like the first 3 Wario Land games. This game actually has a theme that the music kind of goes back to for most stages, a leitmotif, if you will, using my big boy musical terms. But this track doesn't really have that melody in here. It's kind of hidden, maybe. I don't know. A little interesting fact I could say about this game is that, you just have Wario looking at you on the screen. His face is just constantly twitching. His mustache is kind of going back and forth. Nose is twitching. His eyes always kind of, just making faces at you. That garlic-eating Wario boy. He needs to stop eating that garlic and eating more green beans. Though maybe that might not be a good thing because he's gassy enough as it is. Now reaching back into this bag, what's next course? It's kind of gushy still. Yes, a classic standby. Yams. They're technically sweet potatoes. Yams. I'll get to that later, but see, representing yams, I've got Casu Quo CQ by Mr. Mouse using the FM-YAM FM expansion pack for the Commodore 64. Casu CQ by Mr. Mouse using the FM-YAM FM Sound Expansion cartridge for the Commodore 64. And the song was actually originally made back in 1997 using Fast Tracker 2, but Mr. Mouse made this conversion specifically as a demo for the FM-YAM cartridge to test out the balance between the Commodore SID chip and the YM3812 FM chip that's supplied within the expansion pack. Now, before I get to telling you more about the FM-YAM, let me tell you a bit more about yams, which you would commonly find on the Thanksgiving table, in which case they're not actually yams, they're sweet potatoes. For some reason, garnet sweet potatoes have come to be called yams because I don't know why. It's a tradition, American tradition. Yams are actually more akin to potatoes, like, regular potatoes. Their skin is kind of almost barky. Their insides are really dense and starchy, not sweet at all. And then sweet potatoes, of course, are like that nice orange color, depending on what kind you get. There are purple ones. There are white ones, like the Japanese, can't remember the name of them, but they have like that purple skin and white flesh inside. And if they're roasted just right, holy shit. But back at the topic at hand of sweet potatoes. So what you'll usually find are sweet potatoes on the table. Sometimes savory, sometimes done up pretty sweet, like really sweet, like ridiculously sweeter than they should be with condensed milk and marshmallows on top. Just give me sweet potatoes that have been just roasted plain, some butter and salt, and I'm set. So now back to the YAM of the FM variety. So this expansion cartridge was developed by Zentax, or released by, I'm not quite sure, back in 2018. And I want to say, going off the YouTube description of this song, that Mr. Mouse may be part of that team. But what's inside this cartridge is the YM3812, also known as the OPL2 2-op FM sound chip. It is commonly known as like the ad-lib chip, which would be found in a lot of Sound Blaster cards, PCs like IBM PC, MSX. And from what I'm reading, it has like actual audio in and out jacks on the cartridge itself so that you can actually mix the sounds together. So like you can either only just do the FM, just do the SID, or like this song, combine them together. And then even if you're using like the Digi channel for samples, then you got 13 channels of sound going on here, which the Commodore 64 originally was not meant to do. As far as I know, I am not an expert on Commodore 64 at all. One thing I am confident in, though, is that you'll be hearing more music coming from this sound expansion pack in the future, most definitely. So now we're getting onto the main course, which is usually the turkey. But in this case, I couldn't quite find one that I liked that, was for turkey, or goose even. So I went with chicken. So what I got for you is Chicken Paradise from Ghost Trick, composed by Masakazu Sugimori.
Chicken.
Yes, thank you, Jin. That was Chicken Paradise from Ghost Trick by Masakazu Sugimori. And I will admit it here. If I had looked hard enough to find like VGM that was related to turkey and or goose, I could have found it, but I wanted to use this because I had that voice clip from Tekken Force on Tekken 3 of the chicken pickup, because it's just been in my head ever since I played that game, and every once in a while I find myself saying it. And it's just a fun clip, so I had to use this song because it's ridiculous. I mean, just imagine it. If Jin Kazama was in a place called Chicken Paradise, where in this case where it wasn't a place where you ate chicken, but there was just chickens all over the place because it was a safe haven for him, you'd be hearing him say,
chicken,
over,
chicken,
and over,
chicken,
and over. Hey buddy, you're only supposed to eat them after they're cooked.
Chicken.
You're probably right. With those devil genes, your gut could probably handle anything. And speaking of guts, being able to handle things, Thanksgiving truly is a test for your gut to see like how much you can stuff inside of you. I don't know if this is actually, what it should be about, but a lot of people tend to turn it into that. And, if you can pass the test of the turkey and you're not falling asleep from all those tryptophans in there and all that gibble goobies from the white meat, I like dark meat myself, of the chicken and the turkey varieties, then you are treated to a dessert, usually pumpkin pie. So reaching into this I'm pretty sure is disintegrating bottom of the bag, grabbing out you some gushy delights. You can probably just pick the paper out of that, you'll be fine. And this track, though the title may not be related to a pumpkin, where it does play in the game that's coming up, it takes place in a pumpkin patch. So this is Bedight Orbit from Legend of Mana, composed by Yoko Shimomura. And that song, which is most likely is playing in your belly after all that Thanksgiving food goodness, is Bedight Orbit from Legend of Mana, composed by Yoko Shimomura. And yes, the song plays at the point where you're fighting against Lisa and Bud, twin mages, who are playing a prank throughout the town of Domina, and they turn this regular pumpkin patch into like this giant, all the pumpkins get faces, they're glowing, they're giant, they're just doing things, and this song is just bumping while you're duking it out with them. And the one who made this music bump is the queen of VGM herself, Yoko Shimomura. And my first exposure to her, of course, was Street Fighter II. This game, Legend of Mana, was my first exposure to her RPG-style music. I didn't get exposure to Super Mario RPG until after, playing Legend of Mana. And I, to the shock of probably many, I could never get into the Kingdom Hearts games, even though, the music that she made for that game is really good. I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it. But in any case, this music is most likely what's playing inside your stomach after eating that pumpkin pie while you're sitting on the couch, spacing out, not even able to comprehend all the stuff that you ate, and the food's just having a party down there, becoming Thanksgiving slurry. And I hope you enjoyed this slurry of tunes I picked out for you for this Thanksgiving day, and that you got to just enjoy the time with your family and eat some good food and And, hopefully the days leading up to today have been really fun for you as well with your families. For example, right now, my wife and I are in Colorado, and the days before, we probably went to hot springs in northern Colorado, and on the way back from there, they took me to the Colorado Gator Farm, where it's just alligators everywhere and tortoises and cats. So who knows? Maybe that happened. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. Maybe it's like how with this thing that, this is my backup to if I wasn't able to do my Friendsgiving episode. But if I did, you got to enjoy that and this. If not, then you just got to see this and enjoy the tracks I tried to link to food. And a soggy bag. Yeah, you don't want to eat that bag. Don't do it. Here, have some of this Thanksgiving fudge. It's got a layer of turkey gravy on the bottom, mashed potatoes in the middle, and cranberry on top. Yeah, my boss had me make that while I worked at Candy Strike. I don't know if you'll like it. It tastes like something, but I can't guarantee you'll like it. Maybe you will. And much like those unholy layers of the fudge flavors, let me layer it down with some of the spieling at the end here. So, of course, thank you for coming into VGMporium. You can find it on all your favorite podcatchers like Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Stitcher even, as well as on social medias like Twitter and Instagram. And you can find it on YouTube, where I post just the video of the music and stuff with the title card I make. And then you can find your host. I am your host, Rage Cage. You can find me on those same social medias such as Twitter and Instagram, as well as on SoundCloud, where I post my original musics. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you for your patronage.